30 years ago, I set myself a goal to tell the stories of adventure, to stand on the tops of the mountains, to float the West's best rivers.
Gary's Greenie Special.
My name is Gary Lewis. These are stories from the edge of civilization. Tales of yesterday. Notes from wilderness. This is Frontier Unlimited.
My name is Trevor. You can call me Trev if you like. Many of you have seen my name appear across the past episodes of Frontier Unlimited as a producer, camera operator, and editor of the show. I have been working with Gary for close to 5 years now. If you asked me 5 years ago if I planned on visiting South Africa in my lifetime, I would have simply replied no. I don't even have a passport. To be honest, all the way up to the moment I started working with Gary, I had no want to leave North America. That all changed the day I sat down with Gary at the Vault Tap House in Redmond, Oregon. We talked about potentially filming Frontier Unlimited together.
It's moving!
I would have never guessed an adventure of a lifetime awaited me. As Gary and I talked, he asked if I was interested in filming the show, and I, not knowing fully what I was getting into, agreed to join the team. This is where the story starts, but it's just a prelude to one of the greatest things I've ever done in the 40 plus years of my life in this world. And here I am now, on the border of Zimbabwe, traveling with amazing people, recording their stories. While we were planning this trip, Gary told me that when I got back, no one would really understand my story unless they've been there themselves. These people would be the only ones who would fully understand your experience. I didn't understand what he meant until now. The people I met and became friends with on this trip will always have a place just for them in my own stories. Big Heart, a big brother to me. Terry, an example of determination and years of skills honed as a hunter and outdoorsman. Becky and Brian Cyrus, some of the best people I could ever share these stories with. Gary, a mentor, business partner, always helping me grow as a creator and a better man. Here we are into the third episode of this trip. Gary and his wildebeest, an amazing animal built for survival and determination. The bushbuck of the night sky over the orange groves, a fighter and skilled animal of speed, agility, and ferocity. Do not let the bushbuck's diminutive size fool you into thinking it's an animal of meek nature. We are into the last leg of the trip, and Gary has set his sights on an Impala, the embodiment of Africa. Even though these animals are plentiful here, they are alert and wary. Survival is not just something they do, they live it every second of every day. It's not just hunters they evade, it's the many predators that inhabit this area alongside them. As the days grow to a close, Gary covers more and more ground in search of a trophy to harvest. Even as we stay focused on the hunt, the land around us still calls for our distraction. A place that appears very similar to my home, but is alien to me as if I was on another planet. As we close in on an Impala buck, Gary moves quietly. Soft footing, deliberate movements. Vighart confirms the animal in question with simple looks and near silent communication. Gary steadies himself and takes the shot.
And
the clouds roll in, feels like I'm home again. Don't need your safe and sound. Let the rain come down. Let the rain come down. So let the rain come down.
I don't know. It was walking like that.
It's this moment of our trip that solidifies something that has been eating at me, not only for this hunt, but for the past 5 years with Gary.
Warren scope mounts didn't become the standard of the industry in an engineering lab, and we didn't become legendary by standing still. At Warren scope mounts, we put our gear to the test with top shooters and on the hunt year-round. We know long-range shooters and world-class hunters demand the best, and we build the best. Bases and rails, scope rings, MSR mounts, and magazine extensions. Ask for Warren scope mounts at your favorite gun stores or visit warrenscopemounts.com. Confidence in every shot.
There's a place in the mountains untouched by a stressful world, where the ice crystals break under your feet, temperatures bring hands together. From a time out for the game at Crescent Lake Lodge, to a lovely commute, where dinner plans are all but set. Make your stay at Crescent Lake Lodge and Resort at crescentlakeresort.com.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelled the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far, where the young and old find rest and excitement, not apart. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
I don't know. It was walking like that. And shot it. And like disappeared. Yeah. This track comes right.
It's this moment that has set itself in my mind. I've been surrounded by amazing hunters, guides, teachers, and now friends. How could someone not be inspired to try something new, to be able to do something that I would never have a chance to do again? I've shot guns, sold, built, and enjoyed them as a hobby, but never hunted game, let alone African big game. Spending time with Gary, listening to his stories, his advice, the things he has learned over the years, riding beside Vighart, watching Terry hunt, and hearing Brian Sires talk about predator hunting, I realized I am surrounded by the best hunters I will ever have the opportunity to learn from, in one place, and in South Africa of all places. This is the moment I know I have to take if I ever wanted to take it as a hunter. No longer a fisherman or a cameraman, I wanted to shoot an Impala. That being decided, I realized that I am there for work and to help the party have a successful hunt. All I can do is ask what they thought about me being part of the hunt and no longer as an observer. With the support of Gary, Vighart graciously allowed me to be part of the party. I did have to prove I could shoot. So back at the range, we set up a target. Now at the ready with a 1950s Winchester Model 70 featherweight calibered in .270. This is where all the years I've been around guns my whole life pays off. Even though I've never shot a big game animal, I've shot many targets. And to my luck, I am no stranger to the pre-60s Winchester Model 70s. This is the first rifle I ever shot. It was my dad's .308 Model 70 that I spent many days and rounds honing my shots to a chew can lid at 100 yards on a fence post. Shooting this .270 with a Nosler 150 grain partition was much more pleasant than my dad's 308. The 308 was like a pissy old mule kicking in irritation as I gave command to fire. The 270 was kind, dare I say, a pleasant recoil as I gave way to the rifle's force. As my mentors glassed the target and gave comments of satisfaction, the sun started to set low in the sky, and the impressive colors of the African sky began to tint the air around us. We stopped in a valley of sorts, with sloping ridges around us. Vigart stepped outside the cab and pointed to me, saying nothing. This was no longer an idea I had. It was a real moment in the making. I let my imagination get the better of me, envisioning my epic kill. And an amazing animal. My mind wandered. We walked up to the slope peak to peer over the other side. I felt more winded, more than normal. I pack around 40 pounds of camera gear with me all the time, but this was different. The rifle and my own weight felt much heavier. My breath was heavy, and I felt like I could be heard back at the truck. We saw a herd of 25 or so Impala in the bottom of the belly. They seemed to move with haste, yet appeared unbothered. The direction they were heading was uphill from us. As for the stock, we were too far and not an ideal location to advance. It was over. The following day was our last here in Limpopo. We could see the skies were changing, the air was heavy and charged with static. This was very familiar from our own storms in the high desert, although the skies here seemed on a grander scale. We proceeded to hunt for the morning, and the skies teased from sprinkles and breezes. Later in the day, you could see the sky was growing more angry. Thunder was in the distance. The rainy season is beginning here. Riding in the back of the truck, I was focused on my job of filming. We stopped 100 yards from a herd of Impala, and Wigart stepped out once again and motioned to me silently. This time, it wasn't a far walk. We stopped just past the hood of the Toyota Land Cruiser. Setting the shooting sticks before me, Vigart pointed to the buck standing in the shade of a thorn tree. Standing head on to us. Took aim. I felt confident. I knew I could hit what I aimed at. Squeezing the trigger, let loose my first shot ever, intent on taking the animal down. In my haste, losing sight in the scope view, I popped my head up, knowing this was my mistake. The animal's nowhere to be seen. We moved forward, trackers in the lead, looking for signs. There were none. I missed. I cannot and I can believe I missed. I know it happens. I just had some idea that I was going to make a clean shot. I was wrong. My confidence in shooting was shook for sure. It happens, I know. This was a reality check for me.
Power is confidence. It breaks down barriers, plows through fields of uncertainty, travels 1,000,000 miles, then goes 1,000,000 more. When others waver, power pushes forward. On the high seas, ice roads, and deep underground, power takes performance standards and shatters them. It uses 100 years of formulating expertise to engineer the next generation of diesel engine oil chemistry. Introducing Isosin Advanced Technology, the power you need to go further.
Frontier Roast is a medium roast derived from 100% select-grade Colombian coffee, the essential brew of the backcountry. For the finest trout fishing in America, why not enjoy the finest coffee before you make the first cast? Get yours today at GaryLewisOutdoors.com.
Introducing Nosler's Whitetail Country Ammunition. Whether you're chasing that trophy buck, shooting management deer, or simply filling the freezer, you need ammunition you can rely on for a quick, clean kill every time. Loaded with the legendary solid base bullet and the high-performance straight wall bullet, Whitetail Country Ammunition sets a new standard in deer hunting with exceptional bullet penetration and expansion to kill deer quick.
Life is good, yeah. Life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like
As we returned to scouting, the skies continued to darken and the air became heavier with humidity. Vighart, Gary, and the trackers conferred with each other over on what the weather was doing and how the animals were possibly responding to the change, then discussed on how this was going to affect us. As the slight breeze started to take shape into wind, we took shelter in an abandoned home, using it as a blind for passing by wildlife. Waiting and patience is a given when it comes to the hunt. It can be a full-out run non-stop or a dead standstill. I imagine seasoned hunters have just as much work put into patience as into action. The thrill comes from all angles. I'm sure of this. Still needing to film and do what I came here to do, I wandered the empty rooms of the dilapidated and forgotten home. A room filled waist high with stored hides of previous hunts and their victors. Another with a mountain of skulls. A windmill in sight notified us that the weather was moving forward with its plans of spring rains. Knowing that the high winds and the disrepair of the shelter, we felt it wise to move outside to avoid potential collapse. As fast as the storm came, it was just as fast to clear, and the sun burned its way through the thinning clouds. We got back into the Land Cruiser and began our move to new grounds. The animals' patterns change up as the weather and the new seasons come. As I was observing and back into work mode, the rig slowly stopped, pausing. Still in my zone, I knew Vighart and Gary had something in view. Looking as best as I could, Gary stepped out of the passenger side of the cab and pointed to me. Terry, already instinctually knowing what was happening, removed the Model 70 from the rack and prepared to hand it down to Gary as he motioned to me. Brian nodded to me with a silent, "You got this." Now this is where it gets a little tricky. As you all know, things can go from 0 to 100 in a hunt. And I was out of this truck walking with my rifle in hand, no camera. It was just me, Vighart, and Reflex. As we walked quietly, I felt more focused than before, almost like my mind was on autopilot. All that I learned from observing and talking with people whose hunts I filmed was kicking in. We walked slowly, crouched as low as my knees would allow. The air was cool again. Just moments ago, it was a warm heat of Africa, now hinting at the familiar comfort of an Oregon summer afternoon in the Cascades. The trees and the thorn bushes were separated enough that we could drive a truck through them, but dense and full of limbs and thorns to hide our presence as we moved through them. Coming to the edge of a baobab tree, smaller than the ones we've been cruising by the whole trip, but still big, 10 or more feet in diameter. Vighart set the shooting sticks in front of me again. I'm snapped back into the moment, realizing he was looking at me. I placed the rifle on the sticks and peered through the 6 Hour Whiskey 5 scope in the direction Vighart pointed. The reticle was clear and tack sharp. I almost felt like I wasn't even looking through it. Vighart whispered, "See the buck in front?" 75 yards ahead of us was a group of 10. Finding the buck in the lead, I saw it was grazing and had no care for our presence. But Vighart placed his hand firmly on my shoulder, leaning within inches of my left ear. "Not that one. See the one to the left of the tree." All the years Vighart has stood in that very position, with I have no idea of how many other hunters, he knew I was one animal off to the left of the one in question. Knowing the further left buck I had in sight had no trees near it, I moved slowly to the right. Not even 10 feet, a buck stood head on to us. Head up, ears forward, he stared right at me through the SIG scope objective. "Do you see it?" Vighart repeated, even softer than before. "Yes," I spoke, if not yelled in my head. One of my greatest faults I have during a hunt is that I need to be quiet. I've gotten way better over the years. I know I'm whispering. The Impala just stood there and stared right at us. "Take the shot." I steadied myself. I focused on my breathing. I'm not going to rush. Placing my reticle center of the Impala's chest, just below the base of the neck. Taking the safety off, I continued to steady myself. Moving my finger to the trigger felt like I was crossing the room to reach a light switch. At least the habit of shooting didn't fail me. I found my finger placement without issue. It felt good. I knew right where I was in orientation to the rifle. Definitely autopilot was nowhere to be found. I was in this moment. What was just seconds felt like minutes. Confidence was starting to fill my chest. That very moment, the breeze turned to wind, and it began to shake my field of view, and then slightly took me off target. A sprinkle of rain landed on my supporting arm, stabilizing the shooting sticks. It was now or never.
Warren scope mounts didn't become the standard of the industry in an engineering lab, and we didn't become legendary by standing still. At Warren scope mounts, we put our gear to the test with top shooters and on the hunt year-round. We know long-range shooters and world-class hunters demand the best, and we build the best. Bases and rails, scope rings, MSR mounts, and magazine extensions. Ask for Warren scope mounts at your favorite gun stores or visit warrenscopemounts.com. Confidence in every shot.
Introducing Nosler's Whitetail Country ammunition. Whether you're chasing that trophy buck, shooting management deer, or simply filling the freezer, you need ammunition you can rely on for a quick, clean kill every time. Loaded with the legendary solid base bullet and the high-performance straight wall bullet, Whitetail Country ammunition sets a new standard in deer hunting with exceptional bullet penetration and expansion to kill deer quick.
Life is good, yeah. Life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like I've been walking on air. Left all my worries and cares. I've got no burdens around you.
I drew my final breath and steadied my shot one final time. The wind was beating on us by this time. The trees and the bushes were dancing by now. The Impala and I were in a stalemate, staring at one another. I felt my shoulders lock, my supporting arm found its place in space ahead of me. I squeezed the trigger. As my view changed from the recoil of the 270, the sky cracked and a flash of lightning was so bright I lost view again. The storm was right on top of our shoulders now. The sprinkles changed to rain, then to sideways rain. It was a foggy veil of water between me and my target. The thunder now was cracking overhead. By the time I was able to get comprehension of what was going on, I could barely see the Impala on the ground by the tree. It was a clean shot. To be completely honest, I tried to keep my expectations of myself hunting low. Once again, I know things can go south fast. The rain was now dumping on us. I've been in spring storms in Florida, monsoons in Maui, but never have I had rain with such power it pushed me down, trying with all its might to bring me to my knees. The wind was moving 60 plus miles an hour. By now we lost all visibility. I could see maybe 15 feet in front of me.
Let's go. Hailing. Seriously. What do you think? Bad. It's calming down a little bit, but it's cold, eh?
Yeah, the wind is. That wind's nice. It's nice about it. It's nice.
Water was spilling out and down the trunk of the bulbab tree as if buckets were being poured down our backs. The water filled our boots as if I just stepped into a 2-foot deep creek and let them fill up. We had no view of the truck. It was close, but visibility went to zero. I tried to remember the last time I took note of where the headlights last glinted through the foliage. We took shelter and did what we could do to be productive. Vigart got some video with his phone. He had me try to cover my rifle as best as I could to limit water exposure. The hail vanished as fast as it arrived. The wind was now a steady 16 miles an hour, but not waver. Rain was still pounding, but now in a vertical fashion and no longer horizontal. Reflex headed off to retrieve the truck. Vighart and I made our way over to my Impala to celebrate a victory. The Impala lay soaked on the ground inches from where he stood. My shot was just a hair high and to the right of where I was aiming. As we took a photo and congratulated each other, Reflex and John, our other tracker skinner, arrived on foot. The rain had flooded the area around us. They had the Land Cruiser as close as they could get without Vighart's leadership. Reflex and John pulled the Impala from the base of the tree to prepare it for transport. They started to drag the Impala back to the truck 100 yards away. John stopped Reflex mid-pull, looked at me and asked, "You want skin?" I nodded yes, still processing what just happened. Nodding to Reflex, they picked the animal up by its legs and began to walk. It was still raining while all of this was happening. I walked for a moment, then it occurred to me, help! I grabbed a hind leg and began to carry my trophy back to the truck. Arriving at the truck, we stopped for a few photos, and what followed was something I had only heard about in passing, but never seen in person: the blooding ritual. It's a tradition practiced in many parts of the hunting world, particularly on the first kill, and in this moment, it took on a weight I wasn't quite prepared for. Vighart dipped his fingers into the warm blood of the Impala and marked my face across my forehead, on my cheeks, symbolizing the connection between hunter and hunted, and the respect given to the animal whose life was taken. It wasn't gruesome. It wasn't celebratory in a way that some might expect. It was humbling. It felt like being welcomed into something older than I could explain. I stood still as the rain continued to fall, mixing with the blood on my face, and for a moment, the world was quiet. It wasn't just a mark. It was a memory, a moment, and a lesson in respect. I had taken a life, and with that comes responsibility, gratitude, and reflection. This moment, my first blooding, will stay with me for the rest of my life. With the Impala loaded, we headed back to the lodge. This is when we truly realized the power of the storm we stood in. Roads were flooded. Once bone-dry riverbeds now raged with water. Power lines and poles lay on the ground as if pushed over by a giant. Power remained out at our lodge for the remainder of the trip. I can't thank Gary, Vighart, and everyone else who had a part in my journey. Words will never do it justice. As Gary said, you will only be able to share this experience with someone that's been there too.